Hi everyone, today I'm going to try a new concept video. I'm going to try to go through the book, the Japanese manuals that you guys are probably using to study Japanese. It's Minna no Nihongo. I think this is the most popular manual, and for good reasons, because this manual is actually used by many students, and I think it teaches Japanese in a very logical order. So what I'm going to try to do today is I'm going to try to talk about each chapter. Well, not today, but I'm going to try to talk about chapter 1 first today. And I'm not going to go into very detailed explanations about the grammar. What I'm going to try to do is just to go through the basics, what they teach you in this lesson. I'm going to go through the exercises with you guys so you can follow along with the book, explain what is the exercise about. I'm gonna give the answers away, obviously, so maybe you can just stop, pause the video, do the exercise with me and check for the correction by playing the video again. And also what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to give you an idea or a situation where you will actually be able to use what you've learned in this chapter in real life when you are in Japan or when you speak with Japanese people. I'm gonna try to speed up things, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you have any questions, please ask in the comment section, and I will answer as soon as possible. This is what you're gonna learn in this chapter. There are six things. There are 6 things they want you to learn in this chapter, and the first thing is how to express your name, your identity, where you're from, and what is your profession, basically. The second thing is how to use a negative statements. When I say negative statement, I mean like saying something like I am not. Okay, not saying something negative, but grammatically speaking. And ask a question. Okay, are you something? And using the marker no to express the appartenance to something. The fifth thing is using the marker mo, okay, to express also. And the last thing they do in this chapter is how to express your age. Okay, they teach you numbers, so from 1 to 100, and how to express your age. So the first thing we have in this book, in this chapter, the first thing we learn is how to use the marker wa. And I'm not going to go into explanations about what markers are. I will do that in a different video, but what you need to know is the marker wa is the marker for the topic. What are we talking about? What is the thing or the person we're talking about? And we're gonna give explanations about or information about that person or that particular thing. Okay. You have to notice also that wa is actually written with the hiragana ha. Okay, but we actually pronounce it wa. Okay, there are only 2 exceptions in the Japanese language when you are going to write in hiragana and you're going to pronounce it differently from what it is originally. This is the first one. Okay, we're gonna say wa, but we write it with the hiragana ha. And page 8, look at number 1. Watashi wa Mike Miller desu. So I am Mike Miller, right? So you can see that there is no be verb. We end the sentence with desu, okay? In this chapter, all sentences must be ended with desu, okay? So watashi wa, I'm Mike Miller. So you see the marker wa, watashi is I. So I'm gonna say something about myself, watashi wa. And what I'm saying is I'm Mike Miller, okay? In this case, we are going to use the marker wa to express our name. Okay, the next sentence, watashi wa kaishain desu. Watashi wa kaishain desu. I am a company worker. I am a company employee. Okay, kaisha is a company, in is a member of a company, therefore a company employee. Okay, so in this second sentence, we're using the same structure, but this time we are using it to express our profession. In the third sentence, we have a different topic. So this time we are not saying watashi, we're saying wansan. So one is a name, and san is a honorific term that we use after somebody's name, right? So one san will be translated as something like Mr. The difference between the Japanese language and English language is when you say one san, it could also be used for woman. We don't say Mr. or Miss or Mrs. We say san for both men and women. One san wa Chugokujin desu. Okay, Mr. One is Chinese. So we're using the same structure, but this time one san is the topic, and what we're saying about Mr. One is he's Chinese, right? So we're using the nationality this time. So to express nationality, you have to add the name of the country, and you have to use the name of the country, and you add Jin to it. Jin is a person, okay? It makes it, it expresses nationality. So Chugoku is China, Jin is a person, Chugoku Jin, a Chinese person, a Chinese man, a Chinese woman. Hopefully, the good thing is most of the countries in the Japanese language are the same as in English, most of them. Like if you want to say the US, you say America. The last sentence in number 1 is one san wa isha desu. So Mr. One is a doctor, right? So again, we're using Mr. One as a topic, and what we're saying this time is a doctor. Isha is a doctor. Mr. One san wa isha desu. Now let's have a look at page 9, and let's go in. So you see page 9, exercise number 1. So you have the first example. Mira-san wa America-jin desu. Mr. Miller is American. Okay. You have to say the nationalities of those 4 characters. So you have Yamada, Watto, Tawapon, and Shumito. Okay. So as we can see, Miss Yamada is from Japan. Japan is Nihon. To create the nationality, you add Jin. Yamada-san wa Nihonjin desu. So don't forget the san, and don't forget Jin. Yamada-san wa Nihonjin desu. And don't forget to add the desu at the end of the sentence. Number 2, Igirisu. Igirisu is the UK. So Watto-san wa Igirisu-jin desu. Number 3, Tawapon-san. Tawapon. Tai is obviously Thailand, so Tawapon-san wa Taijin desu. Mr. Tawapon is from Thailand. Mr. Tawapon is Thai. And Shumito, Doitsu. So Doitsu is Germany. It comes from Deutschland, which is Germany in German. So Shumito-san wa Doitsu-jin desu. We can have a look at exercise number 2 now. We are still using the same characters, but this time we talk about their professions. So we have kaisha-in desu. The example is Mira-san wa kaisha-in desu. Mr. Miller is a company worker. So number 1, Yamada-san, we can see she's ginko-in. So ginko is a bank, in is a member of a bank, a banker, someone who works in a bank. So Yamada-san wa ginko-in desu. Miss Yamada is a bank employee. Watto-san, sensei. So sensei is a teacher. Watto-san wa sensei desu. Mr. Watt is a teacher. Number 3, Tawapon, gakusei. Gakusei is a student. So Tawapon-san wa gakusei desu. Mr. Tawapon is a student. Number 4, kaisha-in, so the same as Mr. Miller. Mr. Schmidt is a company worker. Schmidt-san wa kaisha-in desu. How will you use this in a conversation? Well, actually, what you're going to use it for is when you introduce yourself for the first time to people in Japanese. So when you introduce yourself, actually you can see it on page 11, number 1. You're going to use hajimemashite, which means nice to meet you. It actually means the first time we meet, hajimemashite, but it's the equivalent of nice to meet you in English. And you will say hajimemashite. For instance, if I introduce myself, I will say hajimemashite. Watashi wa David desu. Fransujin desu. And I will end the introduction with どうぞよろしく. So one more time. はじめまして。私はダビッドです。フランス人です。どうぞよろしく. Okay, so どうぞよろしく is like, how do you do? Okay. It's I'm asking you for your goodwill. It's like I want to be in good terms with you. It could translate into many different ways. It's kind of how do you do in English. So what you can note here is first when I talk about myself, 私はダビッドです. I'm not using san. As I explained before, san is a honorific term, so it is used when you talk about somebody else or when you speak directly to someone. When you talk directly to someone, you have to use san, but you don't use it for yourself. Another thing is instead of saying フランス人です, I'm going to say フランスから来ました, which means I came from France. I am French, I come from France. So if I start again using this, I'm gonna say はじめまして、私はダビッドです。フランスから来ました。どうぞよろしく. Okay. フランスから来ました is it sounds more natural when you introduce yourself than actually using フランス人です. Also, you can note that we don't repeat 私は. It's obvious. I can use it the first time. I can say 私はダビッドです, and then I don't have to say 私はダビッドです。私はフランス人です. It's very redundant. We don't need that. Actually, you don't even need to say 私は. I could just say はじめまして、ダビッドです。フランスから来ました。どうぞよろしく. And people understand I'm talking about myself. One more thing. I'm going to add, actually, I forgot to talk about my profession. So I'm going to do the self-introduction again with my profession this time. はじめまして、私はダビッドです。フランスから来ました。教師です。どうぞよろしく. Okay. 教師 is teacher. Okay. So what is the difference? Because we just talked in the exercise, we just saw that sensei is teacher, but I use kyoshi. Well, it's a little bit like san. When you talk about yourself, you don't say sensei because sensei is like a honorific term. So when you say, oh, he's a teacher, you would say 彼は sensei です. But when you talk about yourself, especially when you talk about the teaching profession, you don't say 私は sensei です. You're going to say 私は kyoshi です. Okay, let's jump into the next part. So the next part is how to express a negative statement. So to express a negative statement, the negative version of desu is じゃありません or ではありません. So you have two patterns in this book. They say ではありません, じゃありません. じゃありません is more spoken. ではありません is more written. It's a written form. じゃありません is spoken. In the actual language, you hear じゃないです a lot. So they don't teach you じゃないです in this book, but every time you say じゃありません、ではありません, this can be replaced by じゃないです. じゃないです is very spoken. Okay, you don't really write it. Let's go through the examples. So page 8, number 2. 私はカール・シュミットじゃありません. I am not Carl Schmitt. Again, we are not using san here because the topic is 私, I. You can also say 私はカール・シュミットではありません. Next one, 私は教師ではありません. So I'm not a teacher. Number 3, イさんはアメリカ人じゃありません. So イさん now is a different topic. I'm not talking about myself anymore. イさんはアメリカ人じゃありません. イさん is not American. イさんは学生じゃありません. Isan is not a student. All right, let's practice this with the exercise number 3. Page 9, exercise number 3. Again, we're using the same characters. So they give you a name and a profession or a nationality, and they're all wrong. So Miller-san is your topic, and Ginko-in, a bank employee, is the profession. We know that Miller-san is not a bank employee, he's a company worker. So we're gonna say Miller-san wa ginko-in ja arimasen. Then we have Miss Yamada, Yamada-san, and then gakusei, student. So Yamada-san wa gakusei ja arimasen. Miss Yamada is not a student. Then we have Mr. Watt, Watto-san, Doitsujin, German. We know that Mr. Watt is from the UK. Watto-san wa Doitsujin ja arimasen. Tawapon-san, sensei, teacher. we know that he is a student. So, Tawapon-san wa sensei ja arimasen. Schmidt-san, Mr. Schmidt, America Jin. We know that Mr. Schmidt is from Germany. So, Schmidt-san wa America Jin ja arimasen. All right. The next part is how to ask a question, and it's very easy. You just have to add ka at the end of the sentence. The structure remains the same. It's just ka at the end of the sentence, and when you ask the question, you inflex your voice a little bit. Okay, so exercise number 4, we have 2 examples, Miller-san and America Jin. So you have to ask a question, and you need to answer this question. So Miller-san, the question is Miller-san wa America Jin desu ka? Inflex your voice. And yes, he is American, so we're gonna say hi, America Jin desu. Hi is yes in Japanese. Hi, America Jin desu. The next one is Miller-san, again, same topic, but this time we have Isha, doctor. We know that Miller-san is a company worker, not a doctor. So Miller-san wa, we ask the question first. Miller-san wa Isha desu ka? Is Miller-san a doctor? Is not, so we say iie, because iie is no in Japanese. Iie, Isha ja arimasen. No, he's not a doctor. Okay. Number 1, Yamada-san and Ginko-in. So we know that Miss Yamada is a banker, so let's ask the question first. Yamada-san wa Ginko-in desu ka? Yes, she is. Hai, Ginko-in desu. Watto-san, kaisha-in. We know that Mr. Watt is a teacher, so we ask the question first. Watto-san wa kaisha-in desu ka? The answer, iie, kaisha-in ja arimasen. Tawapon-san, sensei. We know he is a student. Let's ask the question first. Tawapon-san wa sensei desu ka? Iie, sensei ja arimasen. Is Mr. Tawapon a student? Is Mr. Tawapon a teacher? No, he's not a teacher. Schmidt-san, Doitsu-jin. Schmidt-san wa Doitsu-jin desu ka? Hai, Doitsu-jin desu. Is Mr. Schmidt German? Yes, he is German. You can actually use this, like on page 11, you have an example. You look at number 2, and you have somebody is asking someone else's name. So the question they ask is Shitsurei desu ga onamae wa? So Shitsurei desu ga onamae wa? Shitsurei desu ga is, excuse me, it's like I'm being rude, I'm being impolite, I'm being rude. But Shitsurei desu ga? The ga is like but. Onamae wa? So namae is name. It sounds like name in English, it's actually a coincidence, but namae means name in Japanese. O is honorific, again, honorific terms that we use when we talk to someone else, onamae wa. And onamae wa, inflection of the voice at the end, there is no desu ka because we understand it's a question. We don't need what comes after. The person answers ii desu. I'm ii. And the other person say Lee-san desu ka? So they are not sure they heard it correctly, so they say Lee-san desu ka? Are you Lee? And the other person say iie, ii desu. No, I'm ii. One thing that you can notice is there is a word to say you in Japanese. We say anata, but you want to avoid using it when you know the name of the person. You want to use the name when you ask them a question. So, for instance, let's consider the question O genki desu ka? O genki desu ka means how are you today? Are you literate means are you genki? Are you good? We're not gonna say anata wa o genki desu ka? It doesn't sound correct in Japanese. It doesn't sound nice. You're gonna use the name of the person. So if I'm talking to Mr. Miller, I'm going to say Miller-san wa o genki desu ka? And it translates into are you genki, Mr. Miller? Are you genki today? If you're talking to if you're talking to your teacher, you would say sensei wa o genki desu ka? Or you use the name of the sensei and say what sensei wa o genki desu ka? One thing that you can also note is in the exercise when we ask the question, for instance, Miller-san wa America-jin desu ka? And Miller-san answer, he say, hi, America-jin desu. We don't say, hi, watashi wa America-jin desu. No need to repeat watashi wa in the answer as it will be redundant. ミラさんは銀行員ですか？いいえ、銀行員じゃありません。We don't repeat. いいえ、私は銀行員じゃありません。It doesn't sound natural. Okay, the next thing they teach you is the word who. And who in Japanese is 誰. They also teach you the word あの人, which means that person over there. It's important to understand that we're talking about somebody who is not near us, so this person cannot hear us. あの人. So we can use this sentence with the marker wa to create a topic. あの人は, we're talking about that person over there. あの人は, and ask a question about the name. So あの人はミラさんですか? Is that person over there Mr. Miller? So if you look at number 3, page 8, number 3, we have we actually have 3 questions. So the first one is あの人は木村さんですか? Is that person over there Mr. or Miss Kimura? あの人はマリアさんですか? Is that person over there Miss Maria? And after hito we have kata. So kata is it's a honorific word. Instead of saying hito, we say kata. Kata sounds nicer, it sounds more polite. So we could, if you want to sound more polite, you could say あの方は皆さんですか? But the meaning remains the same. Also, we're using dale. So when you use dale, we've learned that dale is who. So if you replace the name of the person by dale, あの人は誰ですか? It means who is that person over there. And if you can also see that we have a more honorific word than dale, which is donata. So if you're using donata, this is how you will ask the question. あの方はどなたですか? Who is that person over there? So あの人は誰ですか? あの方はどなたですか? More polite. Okay, so again, one thing you need to remember, you don't, when you talk to someone directly and you want to ask their name, you're not going to say あなたは誰ですか? Okay, no, it is not nice. Even if you're using ですか, you want to use what we've just talked earlier. 失礼ですが、お名前は? Excuse me, what is your name? In English, it sounds like, excuse me, may I have your name, please? It is more polite. You don't say あなたは誰ですか? It sounds like, who the hell are you? It's not very nice. Okay, so the next part is introducing the marker no. So the marker no is used a lot in the Japanese language. So the marker no is when you connect a noun to another noun. So you're modifying a noun with the marker no. So for example, when I do my self-introduction, I'm going to say はじめまして、David です。フランスから来ました。レオの教師です。Leo is the name of my school, and I want to link Leo and the word teacher. Leo no kyoshi desu, right? The most important information comes at the end. What I want to say is I'm a teacher at Leo, right? I'm not saying that I'm Leo, I'm saying I'm a teacher. So teacher comes at the end, and everything that is after that comes before. So in Japanese language, it's reverted. Leo no kyoshi desu. So let's look at page 8, number 4. We have watashi wa IMC no shain desu. So this means I am an employee of IMC. So we've learned that kaishain is a company worker, but when you say the name of the company, IMC, in this example is the name of the company, you don't say IMC no kaishain, you will say IMC no shain desu. I'm a employee for IMC. The next one, Karina-san wa Fuji Daigaku no gakusei desu. So Daigaku is a university. Fuji is the name of the university. Karina-san wa Fuji Daigaku no gakusei desu. Miss Karina is a student at Fuji University. Number 3, Watt-san wa Sakura Daigaku no sensei desu. Mr. Watt is a teacher at Sakura University. Now let's look at the exercise on page 10, exercise 5. So we have the different characters this time. So we have Gupta-san, Ii-san, Wan-san, Karina-san, Santos-san, right? And we're going to ask the question, あの方はどなたですか? Who is that person over there? And this is how we answer it. Gupta-san です。IMC の社員です。So this time we give two informations. He is Mr. Gupta. He is an employee of IMC. Okay? So let's do the same thing with the others. Number one, E, AKC, 研究者. So 研究者 is a researcher, and AKC is a fictional name for a, I guess, a company, laboratory. あの方はどなたですか? E さんです。AKC の研究者です。Number two. She is a researcher for AKC. Number two, Wan-san. Wan-san, あの方はどなたですか? Who is that person over there? Wan-san です。神戸病院の医者です。So, 神戸 is a name of a city in Hyogo Prefecture. 病院 is hospital. So, Kobe Hospital is the name of the hospital. Kobe Hospital. And Isha is doctor. So, Wan-san は神戸 Wan-san です。So, this is Mr. Wan. 神戸病院の医者です。is a doctor at Kobe Hospital. Next one. あの方はどなたですか? カリナさんです。富士大学の学生です。Who is that person over there? This is Miss Karina. She is a student at Fuji University. And the last one, Santos-san. あの方はどなたですか? Santos さんです。ブラジルエアの社員です。So this is Mr. Santos. He is an employee of Brazil Air. I guess it's an aviation company. One thing that we can also have a look at is page 11, number 3. So this is a conversation between three people. So the first one, Tanaka-san, おはようございます。So Mr. Tanaka, good morning. おはようございます is good morning. Mr. Tanaka answer by おはようございます。And Mr. Whoever is, こちらはミラさんです。こちらはミラさんです。So こちらは means it's here. Everything that is around me, okay, is こちらは. And I'm using こちら because こちら is very polite. And I'm using こちら to indicate Mr. Miller who is standing next to me. So this is Mr. Miller. And which means that the Mr. Tanaka didn't know about Mr. Miller. And so Mr. Miller introduces himself. はじめまして、ミラーです。IMC の社員です。どうぞよろしくお願いします。So he's saying はじめまして、nice to meet you. I'm Miller. I'm an employee at IMC. And he's using どうぞよろしくお願いします。So どうぞよろしくお願いします。is a more polite version of どうぞよろしく, right? So you can say よろしくお願いします. You can say どうぞよろしく, or you can say どうぞよろしくお願いします, which is more polite. It's the whole sentence. This is not only used when you introduce yourself, but it's also used when you ask for a favor in Japan. So when you ask someone to do something for you at the end of the request, you could say よろしくお願いします, and you have to bend your head a little. どうぞ, you have to bow a little. どうぞよろしくお願いします. よろしくお願いします. Alright, so the next part is introducing the marker mo. So the marker mo means also, and it replaces the marker for the topic. So for instance, if I want to say so for instance, I'm going to say 私はフランス人です. And I'm going to say Jean Reno, which is a famous French actor. Jean Reno mo フランス人です. So I'm saying I'm French, and Jean Reno is also French. Jean Reno mo フランス人です. So using the characters in the book, I could say Santos さんはブラジル人です. Maria さんもブラジル人です. Mr. Santos is Brazilian. Miss Maria is also Brazilian. So let's look at the example page 8. So we have Santos さんはブラジル人です. Mr. Santos is Brazilian. and Maria-san もブラジル人です。Miss Maria is also Brazilian, and they also use あの人 that we've learned earlier. あの人もブラジル人です。So that person over there is also Brazilian. Alright, let's practice page 10, exercise 6. So we have a lot of characters and two examples. So we have we have Miller. So we have all the characters we've encountered so far. So we have two questions. We have Miller-san, Kaishain, Gupta-san. So they want you to use Miller-san as the topic and make a statement about him. Miller-san wa Kaishain desu. Miller-san is a company worker. Then you're gonna ask more and ask a question, and you're gonna use Gupta-san. So Gupta-san mo Kaishain desu ka? Is Mr. Gupta a company worker as well? And he is. So we say, hi, Gupta-san mo Kaishain desu. Yes, he is also a company worker. The next example, again, Miller-san and Gupta-san. But this time we have American, instead of Kaishain. So again, we make a statement. Miller-san wa American desu. Miller-san is American. And we ask the question about Mr. Gupta using mo. Gupta-san mo American desu ka? Is Mr. Gupta also American? Is not. If you look at this character, he's from Indo. So Indo is India. And so we say, Iie, Gupta-san wa Americanじゃありません. No, Mr. Gupta is not American. Alright, so number one, Yamada-san, Ginkoin, Ii-san. So, statement, Yamada-san wa Ginkoin desu. Question, Ii-san mo Ginkoin desu ka? And we know that Ii-san is not a banker, she is a researcher. So we say, Iie, Ii-san wa Ginkoinじゃありません. Number two, Wata-san, sensei, Wan-san. Wata-san wa sensei desu. Mr. Watt is a teacher. Wan-san mo sensei desu ka? Is Mr. Wan a teacher as well? And we know he's a doctor, so we're gonna say, Iie, Wan-san wa senseiじゃありません. No, Mr. Wan is not a teacher. Next one, Tawapon-san, Gakusei, Karina-san. Tawapon-san wa gakusei desu. Mr. Tawapon is a student. Karina-san mo gakusei desu ka? Is Karina also a student? Yes, she is. So we will say, hi, Karina-san mo gakusei desu. Yes, she is also a student. Yes, she is a student as well. Last one, Schmidt-san, Doitsujin, Santo-san. Schmidt-san wa Doitsujin desu. Mr. Schmidt is German. Question, Santos-san mo Doitsujin desu ka? Is Mr. Santos also German? We know he's from Brazil, so we're gonna say, Iie, Santos-san wa Doitsujinじゃありません. Alright, so this is how you use mo. Mo is a marker, and it's very easy. It means also. Okay, the last part we learn in this chapter is how to express age, and we also learn the numbers. So the number, I talked about them in different lesson. Quickly to review it, from 1 to 10 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. From 10 to 20, you just have to add the number. So you say 10 plus 1, 10 plus 2, 10 plus 3, so 11, 12, 13, etc. When it comes to 20, it's 2 times 10, 20, then 21, 2 times 10 plus 1, 21, 22, 23, etc., etc. So you have some irregularities in the numbers. I mean, not irregularities, but you also have different ways of saying 4 and 7. I'll discuss this in a different lesson. When you say the age, you have to use the suffix, the numeric suffix sai. So sai is something a word that you're going to use at the end of the number to express what is it you're counting. And this is going to be very similar. You're going to see this in the Japanese language a lot. We add a lot of we had a lot of suffix at the end of the numbers to express what is it we're counting. Okay, so sai is for age, is kind of like years old in English. So, for instance, if I want to talk about my age, I would say 私は45歳です。私は45歳です。I'm 45. I use the number 40, 45, 5, and 歳, and I express my age. So, there are three irregularities. You don't say 1歳 for 1 year. 1 year old, you say 1歳. You don't say 8歳 for 8 years old, you say 8歳. And you don't say 10歳 for 10 years old, you will say 10歳. So let's have a look at page 8, number 6. So we have テレザちゃんは9歳です. So Teresa is 9 years old. So you can see that we're using chan. So chan is actually, when we speak about little children, we don't need to say san, because san is used more for grown-up. You will say chan if it's a girl, you will say kun if it's a boy. Sometimes we can also use chan for a boy. It's affectionate. It's a cute way of calling a child. So Teresa chan wa 9歳です. Teresa is 9 years old. Taro chan, so I think Taro is a boy, you see, but we still use chan. So Taro chan wa 8歳です. Taro is 8 years old. One thing you need to also remember is when you say 4 years old and 7 years old, we don't say shisai, we're going to use yon. Yon is the other way of saying shi, yonsai, and we're not going to say shichisai for 7 years old, we're going to say nanasai. Nana is the other way of saying shichi. Finally, when you want to ask someone's age, you're gonna use the word nan. Nan means what in Japanese. So we add nan to sai. I mean, nan precedes sai. Nan sai is how old. Okay, and this combination is going to be true for most of the suffixes we're gonna learn when it comes to counting. Every time you have a counter like sai, or we will see later kai, or you just add nan to make it a question. So, 何歳ですか? How old are you? For instance, if I say, Teresa-chan wa 何歳ですか? And I'm asking Teresa, how old are you, Teresa? If you want to ask again, there is a more polite way to ask somebody's age. You will use the word oikutsu. They also teach this word in the chapter. So, but I will use it with a grown-up probably. I could say, Miller-san wa oikutsu desu ka? And ikutsu means how many. So, Miller-san, how many are you? So, Mr. Miller, how old are you? So we're gonna do the last exercise. We're going to do number 7, page 10, number 7. So you see we have numbers after each characters. This is their age. So the example, Miller-san, we must ask the question first. Miller-san wa 何歳ですか? How old is Mr. Miller? He's 28, so 28歳です。Yamada-san wa 何歳ですか? She's 38, 38歳です。Watta-san wa 何歳ですか? is 45, Watta-san wa 45歳です。Same as me. Tawapon-san is 19, so Tawapon-san wa 何歳ですか? 19歳です。And Mr. Schmidt is 52. Schmidt-san wa 何歳ですか? 52歳です。The last thing you want to remember is do not ask age directly to Japanese people, as it is not very polite, especially when it comes to ladies. You don't want to ask, hey, how old are you? It's a delicate matter. So you want to use this in specific situations when you know you are allowed to ask the age. Alright, this is the end of this video. Sorry, because my battery, I ran out of battery, so I had to reset the camera. I hope you guys learned something today. If you like this video, please give the thumb up. I will try to cover all the lessons from book 1 and book 2 in the same fashion. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section. If you have any suggestions, I'm open to any suggestions. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Sayonara.